Here.
Okay.
My guest is Deborah Tavares, and I'm sorry, dear. Go ahead.
Clay, you're cutting out.
All right, let me call you back on my cell phone that I just had you on. Hang up.
Clay, you're cutting out.
I'll call you back. Hang up. I'll call you back on my cell phone. I will call you back, dear. Hang up.
Okay.
Hang up.
Hang up?
Yes, ma'am. Hang up. Answer the next phone call.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I got you now.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, that's much better.
All right, dear. Okay. My guest today is Deborah Tavares, and Deborah, I almost don't know where to start. What we've talked about on a regular basis is smart meters, smartmetersmurder.com. But you sent me some documentation from almost 10 years ago, I believe, and that was from NASA. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Clay. It's the Future Strategic Issues, the Future of Warfare, circa 2025. And the document is on www.stopthecrime.net. It's listed under source documents along with other documents we highly recommend that everyone download and read. In particular, right now, also Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. That's very important right now since we are being launched by design into the false sense that elections matter. But getting back to the NASA document, Clay, yeah, it takes your breath away as you read through this, as I'm sure it did you as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they talk about they discredit the United States throughout the document, as well as the human race. And it says it's a NASA PowerPoint presentation, and it says on page 4 that it's meant to incite thought and discussion, and it's based in all cases upon existing data, trends, analysis, and technologies. And they say there is no pixie dust. Of course, meaning that everything that they discuss in here is real. They had abilities to enact these technologies then, back in 2001, when this document in this PowerPoint was presented. And it is absolutely horrifying. They talk about how the world is in the throes of exponential and technology revolutions, which of course we know. In fact, technocracy or technologies is the scientific dominance. It's a takedown of the United States and the globe. Right now, the evil forces have control through the advanced technologies now. And they're going to, according to this NASA document, use it all on us. They say something very disturbing in this NASA document, as well as everything that's disturbing, but it starts out saying, Spaceship Earth, the crew are plundering the ship's supplies, tinkering with the temperature and life support controls, still looking for the instruction manual, engaging in bloody skirmishes in every corner of the vessel, increasing the size of the crew by 2 million per week. In other words, NASA has ascribed to the false claims of global warming. And if you look at the Iron Mountain report that's posted on stopthecrime.net, you will see how the whole hoax of global warming was perpetrated on us and why. It was to gain absolute control over the global population through inciting massive fear. And the fear needs to be to such an extent that it was a threat to our very existence in our lives. And so they created the fear of global warming. NASA ascribes to it. They also say humans have taken over and vastly shortened the evolution of the planet. Global warming, pollution, and deforestation. They talk about that. They talk about over 70% of the world's research conducted now is outside of the U.S. The percentage of the GDP in the U.S. produces over 18% of the world, produces an order of only 18% of the world's GDP, and 70% of the U.S. research is now commercial as opposed to government sponsored. They talk about how the IT in computing is going to be involved in a variety of nanotechnologies, micro and nanotechnologies. They also, the NASA document also discusses the impact of the ongoing IT revolution upon society. They say that everything will be telecommuting, teleshopping, teleentertainment, teletravel, teleeducation, telemedicine, telecommerce, telepolitics, telesocialization. In other words, they want to isolate all of us. They want to reduce our socialization. And they want to have such an unplugged individuality that we don't connect and discuss concerns of our time together. They talk about that the IP status, this is on page 17 of the NASA document. They talk about how 100 million telecommuters worldwide are now expected to at least double in 15 years. And they also talk about how India graduates 3 times more software engineers than the U.S. and more software is written in Bangalore than in Southern California. So they talk about how there'll be a fourth WMD. They talk about predictions. They talk about the NASA document discusses what will happen beyond commuting. This is a 114-page document. It discusses the U.S. BRAIN project, talks about the global problems as well as our physical limitations to treatment. It's just unimaginable. They talk about how by 2025, 40% of the private and 15% public colleges and universities are expected to close due to web-based competition. And they say a Northern Virginia businessman recently donated $100 million to set up a free Ivy League class online university. Now we also know that there's a global effort, successful I might add, towards presenting a common core curriculum. It's a dumbing down of the global society. Because what you'll find in the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document, the elites are very afraid that if we gain too much literacy in computers and science, we will be able to unravel their plot and scheme that they are initiating on us through data and computers. Everything will be run on computers and data collecting.
Deborah, they're talking. I'm on one page here, page 18. They're talking about wearable, implantable, own person, electronics, comms, computing, sensory augmentation, health monitoring, and brain stimulation. Yeah. I mean, this sounds like an advance of LSD, and it's all being controlled electronically. And I'm sure they're talking about this Mark of the Beast chips here being implanted on everybody. They want that, don't they?
Well, Absolutely. They want, right now, what the global elites are doing by a variety of means, not only within all of our cities, through the sustainable development criteria that they have our cities required to buy into, by executive order, now, the fall of this year, 2012, every city across America is going to be required to sign on to the Climate Action Plan. And our city gladly leaped on board and signed on to it here in Northern California. And it's requiring that we take inventory of our trees. They want us to even count our neighbors' trees. Right now what they are doing a global inventory. And every single thing will have accountability, and many things will have sensors. I'll get into that a little bit later because I did some research into Carnegie Mellon, and I found a mission statement that I will actually discuss here in a bit. But what I wanted to continue with the NASA document was the education program and the fact that Common Core curriculum is being introduced nationwide. They're going to introduce algebra, which was always a math program that was initiated when children were in the 8th grade. Well, now they're going to introduce it in the 9th grade. They are dumbing us down. Bill Gates donated $100 million towards the Common Core curriculum. He wants everything, of course, based on computer learning, again, the isolation and desocialization of all of us, e-learning, everything on computers. Bill Gates is behind this and funding it. They say in the NASA document, quote, the ultimate education approach is plug and play. And they talk about direct silicon or other such device connection to the brain, very rapid uploads. Education in bits instead of many years. And they go on to talk about the inadequacies of humans. They also discuss major emerging law enforcement issues. It's an absolutely breathtaking.
Now, I find this interesting that this document comes from NASA. This doesn't seem to have much to do with putting a man on the moon or Mars. Why have they done this? What is NASA's link with this?
Well, NASA, of course, is an arm of the international bankers cartel, the mafia, and it was put in place to launch what they're now doing to us, to the United States. Our weapons have now been turned against us. This has always been happening. We are becoming into a deeper warfare for full spectrum dominance by the global elite, and NASA is just a front organization for them working with the Pentagon. But having said that, they talk about on page 35, they say that there will be flesh-eating robots that hunt and biodigest natural fruits to live off the land. And they say they will be chew. So we're talking about part human and part robotic, which is what they talk about throughout this document. They talk about transhumanism. And that is what they've been working on, and that is what they've been developing. They've been doing that through the creation of autism. That has been a created ailment. I know because I struggle with a high-functioning autistic grandchild, and I can tell you that what they've managed to do with autism is to create the inability for those people to interact socially on a feeling level. They're not able to be reciprocal, and they're very robotic because they'll do what they're told, depending on where they are on the spectrum, how crippled they've made them. But many of them are very high-functioning, very smart, and absolutely have little to no regard for human feelings or emotion. And again, that is you're a robot in the flesh. It's very, very disturbing. They also talk about there will be sensors, nano tags, smart cards and sensors, and smart dust. And they say also, the NASA document discusses how some sensors will be in swarms. They say smart dust will float in the air current and combine sensors and will be a power supply. And they talk about nano tags placed on everything, everywhere. Identification and status. And they say they will co-opt the insects and the bugs and create them as sensors as well. They, on page 42, they say some explosive smart dust opportunities. They say optimal positioning of explosive dust. Dust is air explosive. Infiltration of deeply buried other such targets. So they're saying that if you're buried in the ground, in a foxhole, in an underground facility, whatever, these dust will infiltrate that. On page 43 of the NASA document, they say microdust weaponry, a mechanical analog to bio-micron-sized mechanized dust, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs. Dust mechanically pours into lung tissue and executes various pathological missions. It's a wholly new class of weaponry which is legal. So they claim that boring into our lungs, executing various pathological missions is a legal form of warfare.
This micro dust. Now, it's scary enough to think about inhaling this stuff, and of course that could be coming down on us right now in the form of the chemtrails.
Yes, that's absolutely true. In fact, Clay, we here in Northern California have been absolutely hit very heavily with chemtrails for the last week. We can see them creating the weather events that they send in the jet streams across the United States to wreak havoc upon our nation, which of course implodes our financial system with disastrous storms and huge monetary losses for many people, displaces many people out of their homes, because we know right now we're being threatened with an event of vast proportions on the East Coast with a convergence of high winds, high rain, etc. And it's just, they say it's a Frankenstorm. And right now, I guess it's scheduled to hit around November the 2nd. And of course, we know just a couple of days ago, we had an upwards of a high 7.0 earthquake in British Columbia. So they are just hitting the globe and us with everything at their disposal, including the weaponized warfare to the weather that they now control. But they also, in the NASA document, talk about robots and the form of technologies that they will, survival requires dispersion, size, reproduction, and concealment. They talk about, in the document, I'm actually hunting for the part they talk about humans, but they talk about other types of weaponry, such as an EMP, the electromagnetic pulse, will be used. They talk about psychological warfare through the CNN syndrome, and of course we know CNN has been a front for psychological warfare forever. We know we've always been deceived by the news, and they are a psychological warfare front. They also, on page 48, they talk about miniature brilliant sensors. They discuss how fuel, air, and dust. They talk about radio frequencies being used upon us. It just goes on and on how it will affect our brain. people need to go to www.stopthecrime.net, take a look at this NASA document. Then take a look at the Iron Mountain report. You will see that the plan of a house-to-house search and seizure was stated then in the Iron Mountain report. We know that the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, that was signed by executive order during the holidays of 2011, towards the end of the year, by President Obama. Now, none of this matters politically. It would have been signed likely by any president who was in office. However, we know that that allows for our military to arrest us without warrant or without cause and hold any American citizen on the soil in America indefinitely. So when we look at all of the orders that have been put in place, you look at the Silent Weapons Supply at War document, the Iron Mountain report, you look at the NASA document. We have other military documents posted on our site, the Fort Meade military document, that discusses the known causes of microwave frequencies and how it affects our brain.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. I just so happen to have that up. Effects of low power microwave waves, and that could be your cell phone. That certainly is your smart meters. They're talking about behavioral performance decrements, seizures, gross alteration in brain function, 30% to 100% increase in brain blood flow, lethal, and it's lethal. They're talking about it being lethal here.
Yes, well, we know that in Brzezinski's book that he talked about in fact, he was really caught the eye of Rockefeller after he wrote the book Between Two Ages by Brzezinski. And it has a global plot. He discussed how there could be massive areas of seizures and strokes and heart attacks. And they can do this with the frequencies from the smart meters, which are being attached, being deployed upon all of our homes and businesses, schools across our nation. This is a global assault with frequencies that will harm us, and they know that. There's no mistake that there are already thousands of people that have had to flee the cities because of the high frequencies, all of the wireless that is being deployed upon America. Now I was watching a commercial here recently by T-Mobile on television, and it showed a sexy gal riding across country on a motorcycle, and as she was going through each state, there were cell phone towers she was passing, boom, 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 cell phone towers, and it was saying, keeping you in touch wherever you go. They're telling you a false advantage of cell phones. The cell phone towers and the cell phones were never intended for our convenience. It was intended as a weaponized weapon. And what it does, of course, it decreases our vitality. It makes many people very depressed. They don't realize why they're seeking mood enhancement drugs, but people are. In fact, when you go to stopthecrime.net, we have a section, Barry Trower, B-A-R-R-I-E, Trower, T-R-O-W-E-R, is a scientist out of the UK, and he refers to thousands of scientific data that discusses the harm in which those frequencies cause to all of us, and that they are in fact weaponized. They're being used by the telecom industry, who has a stranglehold around our industry. In fact, the microwave frequencies are the biggest polluter on our planet right now, even exceeding the military-industrial complex. Of course, it is part of the military-industrial complex. I can only say that what I know many people are doing is they are not allowing the smart meters on their homes at all costs. This is where you draw the line. You can't allow a virtual bomb of frequencies on your homes. These are frequencies of destruction. And in 1970, in Medford, Oregon, there was a frequency assault upon the town of Medford, and within a 24-hour period of time, or maybe 2 days of period of time, there were a couple dozen people that committed suicide. And when they researched what the cause was after eliminating soil, air, wind, and other aspects, they discovered that frequencies were being beamed on the town. It was going into people's television antennas, whether they were watching television or not. It was also going into our house wiring that is in between our walls. When you go to our website, refusesmartmeters.com, and also smartmetersmurder.com, you will find a video there by Dr. Sam Phillips that discusses dirty electricity and how that is deadly. And we know that if you have wire box spring mattresses or any wire, that conducts the frequencies that are in the walls of your home or in the environment, and it radiates you while you're sleeping. An interesting note to play, there was a transition from the original wire screen that we had on our windows years ago to fiberglass screens. And as it turns out, the wire screens helped to prevent the ultra-low frequencies from coming into our homes through our windows. So I now know that people are shielding their windows with a metal fabric that has metal in it, or they're putting wire screens across both sides of their windows, because I know that the screens in general are on the side of the window that will open to prevent bugs from coming in. But if you do that, you've got to cover your entire window. There are also other devices that people can use if they're feeling like they're ill in their homes. And I encourage everyone to go to smartmetersmurder.com, understand what the symptoms are for frequency, the assault upon us, because they are many. The frequencies are listed on our website with the consequences of the symptoms, and you can download and look at that. It is a massive amount of symptoms. Just for a few, many people are experiencing ringing in the ears. They're experiencing heart palpitations, irritability, inability to sleep through the night, flus and coughs, and increase of asthma events. We have that listed on the site as functional impairments from dirty electricity and electromagnetic field exposure. This is radiation and microwave frequency. People are experiencing higher degrees of confusion and short-term memory loss, inability to focus, and just feeling sluggish. This frequency attack and assault upon us is interfering with our brains. It's also, many people are stunned when they hear that this causes the opportunity for voice-to-skull communication. This leads to such an increased anxiety because no one else hears this but targeted individuals, which they can target individuals with these frequencies. And it's just a massive assault upon us. It shuts down cells and causes cell death. People are having leg cramps, stiff necks. It's just general physical weakness, pain, high blood pressure. So we are under an assault, under an attack. It is a silent weapon.